They say a mother's love is unconditional, boundless, unshakable, eternal. But what happens when that love is betrayed in the most horrifying way imaginable? When the child you raised, nurtured, and protected becomes the monster you never saw coming. This is the true story of a mother's nightmare, and the courtroom moment that shocked the world. Diane Miller was a single mother in suburban Oregon, a nurse, a caretaker, a woman who gave everything to raise her only son, Tyler. People said they were close, inseparable. She worked double shifts, skipped meals, gave up her dreams, just so Tyler could have a shot at a better life. But as Tyler grew, so did something darker. What started as tantrums became manipulation, then lies, then violence, and no one believed Diane. Boys will be boys, they said. He's just going through a phase, they told her. But Diane knew something wasn't right. Behind that charming smile, her son was hiding something rotten. Tyler was only 16 when it began. Strange disappearances of money, holes punched in the walls, pets found dead. One night, Diane confided in a coworker, "I'm scared of my own son." But nothing could prepare her for what came next. It was a rainy Friday night when police responded to a 911 call from a neighbor. The scene they walked into was like something from a horror film. Diane was found in the kitchen, brutally stabbed, her final moments filled with terror. And there, sitting calmly on the couch covered in blood, was Tyler, smirking. At trial, the defense painted Tyler as a victim. He had a rough childhood, they claimed. She was too strict. They tried to frame Diane as controlling, unloving, but what no one expected was the footage. A hidden nanny cam Diane had installed weeks before. The video showed Tyler rehearsing his attack, laughing, mocking her cries, practicing his crying face in the mirror. The jury sat in stunned silence as the truth unraveled. He wasn't broken. He was proud. And then came the moment that would haunt the internet for years. During sentencing, the judge asked Tyler if he had anything to say. He stood up, straightened his suit, and laughed. A cold, hollow laugh that echoed through the courtroom. "I'd do it again," he said. She was pathetic. Gasps. A mother in the gallery fainted. The judge's gavel shook. But something else happened, too. The camera panned to Diane's sister, Sarah, who had sat quietly through the entire trial. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She just stared at Tyler and whispered something under her breath. One word: watch. Tyler was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The world called it justice. News outlets splashed the headline, "Teen Killer Shows No Remorse." The video went viral. Millions watched in disbelief. But what they didn't know was that Diane had left behind a box, a small sealed envelope, with one final message. It was addressed not to the police, not to the judge, but to her sister. "If anything happens to me, finish what I started." But here's the part no one's talking about. Just weeks after Tyler was sentenced, Sarah received a message from an unknown number. No caller ID, just 5 chilling words. He wasn't working alone. The camera footage Diane left behind, it had one section mysteriously corrupted. And inside the sealed box, beneath the envelope, was a second USB drive. Password protected, never opened, never reported, until now. What's on that drive? Who else knew what Tyler planned? And why? Why did Sarah suddenly disappear last week? The drive was locked behind a 16-character password. For days, investigators tried to crack it, unsuccessfully. But someone had already seen what was inside, someone who didn't want it getting out. That's when private investigator Caleb Ortiz stepped in. Hired quietly by a journalist who had followed the case from the beginning, Ortiz tracked Sarah's last known movements, her internet searches, her notebooks, and he found something chilling. Diane had been researching a private online forum, one that catered to minors with violent tendencies. A dark community, hidden on the deep web, and Tyler wasn't just a member, he was a recruiter. The deeper Caleb looked, the clearer it became. Tyler was never acting alone. Diane had discovered the forum weeks before her death. She found printed transcripts hidden in his room, conversations filled with coded threats, kill lists, even mock games where teens scored points by fantasizing about murder. Diane tried to alert the police, but without concrete proof, she was ignored. She knew they wouldn't listen, so she started documenting everything. Every message, every login. She hid the evidence, but she also underestimated how far they would go to silence her. 2 weeks after Sarah's disappearance, a hiker in a remote Oregon forest stumbled across a burned-out car. Inside, charred remains. Dental records confirmed the worst. Sarah was dead. But the position of her body? The pattern of wounds? Identical to Diane's, almost ritualistic, staged, and carved into the trunk of the tree above her body, was a word burned into the bark. Reckoning. Investigators returned to Tyler now months into his life sentence. He remained cocky, defiant. But when they asked about the forum, his demeanor changed. For the first time, he looked afraid, genuinely afraid. He leaned forward and whispered, "I never met them. I don't even know their names. I just did what I was told." That's when the realization hit. Tyler wasn't the mastermind. He was just a piece on a much larger board, groomed, used, and then discarded. The real power was still out there. One night, Caleb received an anonymous envelope, no return address. Inside was a flash drive. This time, no password, just a single file, a video. It showed Sarah, tied to a chair, bruised but alive, speaking to the camera. "They know you're watching," she said. "You were never supposed to find this. It's not about Tyler. It never was. It's about control, fear, and it's just beginning." Then the screen cut to black. Attached to the video was a GPS coordinate. As Caleb followed the GPS coordinates, he reached an abandoned farmhouse deep in the mountains. The door was open, dust-covered furniture, empty hallways. And in the back room, a wall covered in photographs. Dozens of them, all teenage faces, all smiling. And pinned in the center was a photo of Diane, with the words written in red. She was number 1. Below it, a newer picture of Caleb, labeled number 11. This is bigger than a murder. It's a movement. Later that night, Caleb received a call from a burner number. A digitally distorted voice greeted him. "You weren't supposed to see that, Mr. Ortiz. You think this is about justice? This is about balance. You've seen the edge of the truth. Do you want to fall or climb?" The call ended. Seconds later, a text appeared. A file, a new victim, a new plan, and a sickening ultimatum. "Expose us, and they die next." Attached was a photo. A girl, 15, smiling, unaware. Caleb's stomach turned. They were daring him to speak, or remain silent and let it happen. With help from a deep web specialist, Caleb finally broke into the corrupted files Diane had hidden before her death. What he found made his blood run cold, the origin of the group. They called themselves the Disciples. Born from a splinter forum of troubled youth, it began as a space for venting, but it quickly devolved. They began testing each other's limits, encouraging emotional detachment, simulated cruelty, then real violence. The more brutal, the more admired, and behind it all was a mysterious figure, a user who never posted photos, only questions, philosophical, cold. His screen name? Father. Using metadata from one of the old screenshots Diane saved, Caleb traced an IP to an elite private school on the outskirts of Portland, funded by anonymous donors. No public records. But one thing stood out. Every student was recruited, tested, watched. Caleb visited the campus under a false identity. But what he found chilled him. Murals of wolves, students whispering, cameras everywhere. And then, in the administrator's office, a photo on the bookshelf. Diane, young, in a school uniform. She had been here, decades ago. She wasn't an outsider to this world. She was an escapee. Back at his motel, Caleb played the last unopened file on Diane's drive. Her voice shaky but determined. I knew they'd come back. That's why I kept Tyler close. I thought I could save him. I was wrong. I tried to raise him right, but they got to him first. She pauses. They call themselves a family, but they only breed monsters. If you're hearing this, it means I failed. But maybe you still can win. Caleb sits frozen. Diane hadn't just discovered the disciples. She had survived them, and they came for her son. Now Caleb is faced with the impossible. Go public and risk the next victim's life. Stay silent and allow a deadly machine to keep operating in the shadows. But then he finds one last name on the list, written in Diane's hand, circled 3 times. Lila Harper. He recognizes it. The girl in the photo he was sent. The next target. He has 48 hours. Caleb races to find her. She's real. Living in a quiet suburb with her grandparents. He warns them. They think he's insane. Until they check the security footage from the night before. A masked figure, watching the house, waiting. The trap is already closing. But Caleb won't let Diane's death or Sarah's be in vain. He takes Lila, gets her to safety, and decides to do the unthinkable. He goes back online and uses Tyler's old account. He posts one message, I know who father is. Within hours, Caleb's burner phone explodes with threats, warnings, bribes, but also survivors. Other parents, former members, people too scared to speak until now. It's not just a group, it's a network, and it's bigger than he imagined. If you're watching this, and you've seen the signs, speak up. If you're a parent, and you think something's wrong, trust your gut. Because evil doesn't need a mask when it has a screen. The only way to fight it is to expose it. Together. As Caleb prepares to go public, his hotel room phone rings again. He picks up. A familiar voice, not distorted. Young, calm. You really think this is about Diane? A pause. Check the envelope under your door. Caleb opens it. Inside, a Polaroid. Him, as a child, at a picnic, holding the hand of a woman. It's not his mother, it's Diane. On the back of the photo, one word is scrawled in red ink. Welcome home. With the help of a trauma specialist, Caleb undergoes regression therapy, and the truth begins to unspool, horrifying and surreal. He remembers being part of something, a school, a program, other kids, chosen kids, games that weren't games, teachers that didn't smile. And Diane, she was there, not as a mother, but as a guardian, a protector. She tried to get him out, just like she later tried with Tyler, but only one of them made it. Back in the real world, Caleb breaks into a private records facility under an old alias Diane once used. What he finds stops him cold. A case file, stamped with a now-defunct government seal. Project name, Nemesis. Objective, emotional conditioning of high-risk minors via controlled aggression environments. Test sites. 3 primary researcher. Dr. L.D. Harper Diane's maiden name. She wasn't just a whistleblower. She was a founding architect. Diane created the foundation for the very system that later consumed her son. When she realized what Project Nemesis had become, how it had splintered and turned into something darker, something online, she tried to shut it down. She vanished, changed her name, started a quiet life, had Tyler. But it was already too late. The disciples weren't just born from chaos. They were born from science. Caleb uncovers something far worse. The disciples are no longer operating just online. They've infiltrated foster systems, private schools, behavioral boot camps. Anywhere vulnerable kids gather, they're watching. recruiting, grooming. And father, the figurehead, he isn't a teenager. He's an adult, an original overseer of Project Nemesis. Still alive, still in control. He doesn't just create monsters, he harvests them. Caleb's phone buzzes, a video call, he answers. A man's face appears, unrecognizable, but the eyes are cold, purposeful. "Hello, Caleb," he says. "You've done well remembering. You were always the best candidate. Diane said so. You were the first to survive." Suddenly, Caleb sees it clearly. He was test subject 001A, the very first prototype of what the disciples would later become. And now, Father wants him back. As Caleb reels, he finds one final file left behind in Diane's voice. Redemption doesn't erase the past. It rewrites the future. "I made a mistake. I thought I could save the system from within. I couldn't. But maybe you can burn it down." Her voice cracks. "I couldn't save my son, but maybe I can save you." Caleb falls to his knees. He's not just hunting monsters anymore. He was one. But now, he's something else. This isn't just a murder case. It's a blueprint, a warning. If you've seen the signs in a child, a school, a system that feels wrong, don't stay silent. This story might be fictional, but the reality is far too close. Children are being shaped by systems designed to break them. And the scars? They don't always show on the surface. Speak up. Share this video. Bring attention to the warning signs. Because sometimes, the greatest danger isn't what's happening online. It's who's watching.